Hi, I'm Jim Juback, and welcome to my YouTube video for October 26th. Last week, I'm sorry I misled you terribly. I said that winter was coming because the market had stopped producing sunflowers, but I went to the market and lo and behold, sunflowers. So it's not quite winter yet. The other I think this is, these are local. They're not coming in from Venezuela or Colombia. I think the fact that we still have sunflowers and it's the middle of October, it has something to do with global warming. The other piece of global warming anecdotal life is that at this farmer's market, they have a farm where I buy my strawberries, and they're upstate New York. And they usually get two crops a year. This year they have 4. And basically I said when we got the third one, I said, how long are you going to be producing strawberries? And said, until the frost. So we had a lot of strawberries this year. So who says there's nothing good about global warming? Global destruction, everybody underwater, but we'll have strawberries as we row. Okay. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you get notification when we do our videos. We're doing about 3 a week, but not always on the same day. If you want more of my stuff, you can go to my free site. That's jubackpicks.com. 3 portfolios, including short, sort of 12 to 18 month, long term, and a dividend portfolio. Or my paid site, jubackam.com, which has those portfolios plus 3 more. One for ETFs, one for volatility, which includes some shorts right now, and the last one for really, really long term investing, where your time horizon is such that you can take punishment now and just, in other words, so that you can get in cheap. Today's topic, China, what will she do? Okay, so on Sunday, we had the official sort of elevation of Xi Jinping to a 3rd term as Supreme Leader of China. And his actual office is president, but for all intents and purposes, it's a constitution of the old Maoist supreme leader with ideology embedded in the statement and all of that. It required an amendment to the Constitution to let him have a 3rd term and waiving of age limits, but it's very clear that Xi is in complete control. He's pretty much wiped out all possibility for internal dissension from the left, and so his only challenge might come from the right, people who are even more extreme than he is. The question for investors is what he's going to do. And it's after Monday, the 24th, it's clearly really important. This is almost like a slap in the face. So he gets elevated on Sunday, and on Monday the markets open, and Chinese stocks traded in Hong Kong, which means largely foreign investors, plunge. So let's look at some charts. This is an ETF for the China large cap stocks, symbol FXI, and it was down almost 10% on Monday. You can see right there at the end. Alibaba, the Amazon, for better or worse, of China. You can see it's not been doing all that well, but it also fell 12.5% on Monday the 24th. And it's just the damage continues across the line. Pick a large stock with lots of foreign ownership, and it was down. This is Meituan. It was down 15.25%. This is one day. And of course, then you get JD.com, and that was down 13%. And then finally, Tencent, the big internet game company, and that fell 14%. This is all foreign money coming out of the market. So knowing, it's hard to extrapolate what the response of someone who's just been elevated as supreme leader of China, who has a agenda to restore China to its rightful position at the top of the world economic and political order, how someone like that is going to react. But we're basically looking at a situation where there are 3 challenges. One is these stocks went down because the market said, you're telling us that you're going to keep your zero COVID policy, which has basically cut Chinese economic growth in half this year. You're going to continue that for the as far as we can tell, the indefinite future. And you're also telling us that you think that zero COVID, as well as other things like equality, are more important than GDP growth, and you're not going to emphasize that. So, on the same Monday, economic data came out. It had been delayed for a week for his, I'll call it, coronation. And it came out and basically said China had grown at an annualized rate of 3.9% in the third quarter, considering that the government's target is 5.5. Very, very disappointing. Okay, so the question is what Xi is going to do about that. Will we see a return to stimulus, or is he basically, as I think is more likely, going to say, hey, my policies are important, this is what I'm going to do, and do whatever you want to do, foreign investors. You're not going to push us around. There's the story of the medieval king, King Canute, who for a brief period ruled a North Sea empire where he was king of England, Denmark, and Norway. And there's this apocryphal story of him having his chair carried out into the ocean. He beat the waves to try to get the tide to move back. I think that's apocryphal. I think Canute was a much cannier politician than that. But I think that there's some psychological truth to that. If you've just been appointed supreme leader of China, are you going to let the financial markets push you around, or are you going to do something that's akin to beating the waves? Okay, that's one. Second is that he has to face up to the challenge thrown by the United States' most recent round of restrictions on the export of the most advanced technology to China. So I haven't responded yet. I think they were holding off until this transfer of power or non-transfer of power happened, but now we're looking at that. And last is that there's the issue of Taiwan. In his acceptance speech, Xi was very adamant that Taiwan is going to be reunified with China. Officials in the Biden administration have said basically they think that the challenge is going to be sooner rather than later. In terms of a legacy, if you look at this and go, okay, so what's Xi going to do that makes him stand out even above Mao? Certainly restoring Taiwan to China would fit that. So I think we're looking at a lot of tensions. We're looking at a lot of possibilities for market turmoil from any of these actions. And I'd watch it for the weeks ahead to see what develops. And I really don't think this is a time, despite what strategists at places like JP Morgan are saying, I don't think this is a time to stock up on Chinese stocks. Again, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, like us, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you get notification of when we're doing the rest of them. You want more of my stuff on gbagpicks.com, that's my free site, 3 portfolios. On gbagam, that's my subscription site. That's got 6 portfolios, including a portfolio with some shorts and inverse ETFs that are good for managing this bearish market. Thanks very much for watching.